Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. I am Carol Williams with Williams Immigration, a boutique immigration law firm, and we are back with another Monday morning edition of Beyond the Soundbite, where we talk about all things U.S. immigration. The first thing I want to talk with you about is this Thursday, January 9, in observance of former President Jimmy Carter's memorial, President Biden has ordered closed the federal agencies. So on Thursday, all federal agencies will be closed. And so what that means for us in the immigration world, or really anybody that has dealings with the federal government, those offices will be closed. So applications will not be processed. So if you have, for instance, premium processing applications, add an extra day to your internal premium processing clock, because the federal government will in fact be closed, and most likely they will not be including that day as one of their business days. Now that premium processing is based on business days and no longer calendar days. So just keep that in mind. So this Thursday, January 9, the federal government will be closed in honor of President Jimmy Carter's memorial. The next thing I want to talk with y'all about is L-1s. L-1s are our intra-company transfer visas. They are used when we are moving people from one company outside the U.S. to a related company inside the U.S. So those companies are related either via a parent relationship, a subsidiary relationship, affiliate, or a branch relationship. So when you're moving individuals within your organization, and you have an international organization, when you're moving them from your office outside of the US to your office inside of the US. Oftentimes, we work with folks that are expanding their businesses into the US. So they have what we call a new office L1. So recently, USCIS provided us with guidance, and I want to remind you of what that guidance is. If you are starting a new office inside the US and you set it up as a sole proprietorship, USCIS is not going to accept that, because there's really no legal distinction between the individual and the business. If, however, you set that business up and it's your business, you set it up as an LLC or a limited liability company, then the L1 will work from a business relationship standpoint, because now there is a separate entity from you, the individual. So essentially, sole proprietorship is a no-go, while an LLC is a yes if you are expanding your own business. So I wanted to remind you of this, because when I work with companies that are moving into the US and they're starting a US business, oftentimes I work alongside their business attorney. And this is one reason why a business attorney can be very helpful for my clients in terms of providing them information on different business structures that will help them get to their goal. And then I also sit as a part of that conversation and talk about the immigration requirements. So oftentimes it is the three of us having a conversation about your business, about your expansion, helping you get to where you want to go. But from a pure immigration standpoint, if you are opening up a new business in the US and you want to apply for an L1, which is an intra-company transfer visa, a sole proprietorship is going to be a no-go, and an LLC will be a yes, assuming that we meet all the other requirements. So keep that in mind. Next thing I want to talk to y'all about, and so I kind of sandwiched it in the middle, is that we are here. H-1B season is here. I know y'all are really tired of me talking about H-1B season already, but it is what it is. H-1B season is here. So the lottery should open again in March. That is when it's opened the past several years. So I know that for some folks, January seems a little bit early. January is not early at all. January and February is when you want to do the brunt of your work, the brunt of that figuring out whether or not the person that you want to enter into the lottery qualifies for the H-1B. Because what you do not want to happen is you don't do this work on the front end, the person gets submitted into the lottery, they get selected into the lottery, everybody's happy, and then you reach out to me and I say, well, this person doesn't have the equivalent of a US bachelor's degree. And then your lottery spot is a waste, right? So we want to do all that prep work, all that analysis up front before we even enter you into the lottery. So we want to look at, does your position require a bachelor's degree? Is your position a specialty occupation position? Does the individual have a degree that is related to the position that you want them to hold? Then we also want to look at logistical things. Do you remember your My USCIS password from last year? If you're like many of my clients, they only use it once a year, and it's for H-1B season, and I get that. So now is the time to dust off the Post-it note, go into your password savers, and dust off and make sure that you know where your My USCIS password is. The other thing that we talk about now, before we even get to March, before the lottery even opens, is, are there alternatives to the H-1B that may be a better fit for the employee that you want to bring on board? Because if there are, we can probably start those now. We don't really have to wait for H-1B, right? The other thing is, start collecting a list of your current employees that you want to enter into the lottery. So those, by and large, are going to be your international students that are currently on board. Maybe you have some folks in other statuses, other non-immigrant status, that have work authorization, but maybe an H for strategic reasons might be better for them if you can get them on that H-1B. So you want to start looking at those people. Do you have jobs open that you are going to start recruiting for soon? If you are, maybe have a conversation with your talent acquisition folks and let them know, and your global mobility folks, if you have folks that you all are bringing on board that are going to need a visa, to let us know as soon as possible so that we can help you with that analysis to see if an H-1B might be a viable option, and then we can get them into the lottery. And you also want to look at people who we entered into the lottery the previous year, and maybe they didn't get selected. Do we still want to enter them into the lottery this upcoming year, right? So H-1B season is here. It's in full gear, right? So keep those things in mind. If you have questions about whether or not you want to enter someone into the lottery, will they qualify for an H-1B if they get selected? Do you have other options for them that are not H-1B? We are certainly here to help you and happy to do so. The next thing I want to talk about are green cards, whether it's an employment-based green card or a family-based green card. We now must file in that initial filing. We now must file the medical report. So we got really no notice. The Immigration Service said, oh, hey, by the way, as of today, we now want your medical report filed with us. So just as a reminder, file your medical report when you file your adjustment of status. Otherwise, immigration is not going to be so kind about that if that is missing. The next thing I want to talk to you about is change of address. If you have moved, if the beneficiary has moved, since filing anything with the Immigration Service, you must let them know of your new address. One, it is a practical thing, so that you continue to get notices from them. And two, they want to know where you are. They want to know if you have moved out of the jurisdiction of your local office, if your case will be, processed in your local office. If you have moved, and let's say you've changed states, more than likely, the local office over your file has changed, and so your file now needs to be routed when appropriate at the correct time to that new local office. Trying to get USCIS to change the office once we get the the biometrics notice or the interview notice is really quite difficult. So if you have moved, if you have changed your residence, you definitely want to let the USCIS know. And that can be done online. It can be done through your My USCIS account. You're essentially going to fill out a form AR11 and send that into them. And the last thing I want to talk to y'all about this morning is really a reminder, because I think it is huge, huge, huge news. So I don't want this to get lost in the mix, is Department of State updated the J1 skills list. The J1 skills list determines which individuals, once they are granted J1 status, must go home for 2 years and share the knowledge that they have gained from their J1 time in the US with folks at home. The skills list determines which of those folks need to go home and fulfill that 2-year requirement. So the skills list had some massive changes to it. So it removed countries, including China and India, from the skills list. So if at the time you received your J1, and let's say you're from China or India, and your term in J1 has not expired, you are now no longer subject to the skills list. So if you are currently in J1 status, or you are thinking about applying for J1 status, it is imperative that you take a look at that skills list and the new updated skills list and see if you are now required to go home for 2 years, or if the requirement for you in particular has changed and you are now no longer required to go home for 2 years. So just make sure that you are aware of that. If you're not sure where to find it, if you need some help doing that evaluation, feel free to reach out to us. That is all I have for this Monday morning. I hope everyone is doing well. Happy New Year. This is the first time I've spoken to y'all on Beyond the Soundbite in January of 2025. So have a wonderful rest of your Monday and a great rest of your week. Bye, everybody.